House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 7, The Red Sowing. No spoilers for the future of House of the Dragon, but if I do, I'll warn you first. Addam of Hull was claimed by Seasmoke, the dragon of his half-brother, and Rhaenyra's ex but also maybe still current husband, Laenor Velaryon. He and Alan are the son of Corlys and a shipwright named Merilda of Hull. Later, Corlys suggests it may be from Merilda's lineage that Addam obtained his dragon blood, which is not likely. The Targaryens and Velaryons have intermarried for centuries at this point. There is definitely some Targaryen blood in Corlys' Velaryon blood. For example, his ancestor Valyna Velaryon was the mother of Aegon the Conqueror. Her mother was an unnamed Targaryen woman who wed a Velaryon man. She was related to Daemon Velaryon, the very first master of ships, from whom Corlys descends. Finally, all three of Aegon's Nepo hires have been fired from the Kingsguard. Leon Estermont was torn apart by the mob last episode, and Aemond sends Martin Rain and Ned Waters to the Night's Watch.
The lowborn cannot go around seizing dragons.
Barty Celtigar, the slapped crab, is still crabby about Rhaenyra's decisions. A bastard gets to have a dragon, while he, with his worthless Valyrian blood, gets nothing but a slap in the face. Mysaria says she knows about at least 80 Targaryen bastards living in King's Landing, plus all the ones living on Dragonstone and Driftmark. She says generations of Targaryen princelings, so any or all of these guys, had unprotected sex with prostitutes. Plus, for the 172 years between House Targaryen's arrival on Dragonstone to when King Jaehaerys outlawed it, the custom of First Night was allowed, in which Targaryen lords could deflower brides before their wedding night. There are lots of people with dragon blood around the Blackwater.
Well then, let us raise an army of bastards.
Oscar Tully is the new Lord Paramount of the Riverlands now that his grandpa is dead. He's got a few of his vassals in the courtyard of Harrenhal. This is Lord Piper of Pink Maiden. Here's Lord Wallace Mouton of Maidenpool. And here are a bunch of Malisters of Seaguard. This is Amos Bracken of Stonehenge, and his nemesis, Willem Blackwood of Raventree Hall.
What is this?
Man, I really thought that Daemon's dreams were over, but we've got at least one more. The writers are being super subtle here, so allow me to explain the intricate character work being done in this scene. Viserys offers Daemon his crown, which Daemon has always felt belonged on his head.
Daemon, you were made to wear it.
But now Daemon has done a character growth, and he realizes he doesn't want to be king. After all, the crown crushes whoever wears it, so Daemon will let Rhaenyra be crushed instead. We get a sleek transition from the sick and dying Viserys to his burned and disabled son, Aegon. The show has obviously been drawing a physical parallel between Aegon and his father, but it doesn't feel totally earned since we hardly ever saw them interact last season.
Aegon!
All of Aegon's presumed resentment towards his father is just that, presumed, by us, the audience. When Aegon smashes up Viserys' model of Valyria, we can infer a level of father issues, but also, Aegon's son was just murdered. He might just be smashing the object literally closest to him. It depends how much credit you want to give the writers, I guess. And when Aegon is going to talk about his father with Otto, he just states a fact and nothing else.
My father is dead.
We didn't see them interact enough, so we have to rely on dialogue to tell us what Aegon's feelings are about his father and predecessor, and even then it gets cut short. This is a problem I have in many other scenes, and many other shows and movies, so it could just be a me problem. For example, we don't get Aemond and Helena's conversation. We don't get Alicent and Otto's conversation.
I do not wish to hear of it.
I do wish to hear of it. Alicent doesn't even say a word to her grieving son, so she can have another sex scene with Cole instead. We mostly get a bunch of small council scenes that all sound the same, and a bunch of Daemon tripping balls, which I admittedly do love. Aegon winding up in a similar position to his father who neglected him would hit a lot harder if they had any sort of dialogue in the past. And I have the same critique about Aegon and Rhaenyra. They're the rival claimants to the Iron Throne, and they've literally never spoken to each other on screen. So this season, when Aegon is cursing out his sister,
"Who will do this save the queen of the smug of Dragonstone?" There she across the on her.
And he believes she murdered his son,
laughing at me. She's fucking laughing at me!
The rivalry just doesn't feel earned. On the other hand, the writers are being extremely heavy-handed in the parallels between Alicent and Rhaenyra. Their relationship gets to keep on developing, and now Alicent has a scar on her left arm, just like the one she gave Rhaenyra. This episode, Alicent goes camping in the Kingswood with a Kingsguard, just like Rhaenyra did in episode 3 last season. This isn't inherently bad writing, it just feels lackluster when their relationship and their parallels are still being prioritized over others this far into the story. This is the second to last episode, and we haven't had a meaningful interaction between Aegon and his wife, Helaena, after their child was murdered. We haven't had meaningful development with either Jace or Baela. In fact, almost all of Jace's book storyline was cut, and replaced with continual shots of him mewing around Dragonstone, except a field trip he took to the twins that one time. We do get a solid confrontation between Jace and Rhaenyra. It was Jace's idea to let non-Targaryens claim a dragon, but he meant noble-born folks only, not bastard peasants. Jace himself is a bastard, and it's weighed on him ever since childhood. But despite this, he's been able to claim legitimacy by riding a dragon. If any bastard can be allowed to claim a dragon, it makes Jace appear even less like a legitimate Targaryen heir. But he's also a petty teenage prince, so he calls them mongrels.
Mongrels?
This is actually a learned behavior from Daemon.
Were stray mongrels.
Jace's point about the Dragonseeds being risky is a smart one. One of them could very well help Rhaenyra win the war, and then what? They'd become one of the most powerful individuals in the world for the rest of their lives. Is this a risk worth taking on bastard mongrels? Rhaenyra tells Mysaria to give Alan a letter to give to this guy to give to Rhaenyra's confidant Elinda Massey, who goes around gathering up all the silver-haired Dragonseeds in the city. There's one, and Ulf the Dragonlord, and my favorite one, Hugh. Hugh tells Cat a secret he's been keeping forever. His mother was Saera Targaryen, daughter of King Jaehaerys, aunt of Viserys and Daemon. You can watch this video if you want, explaining who Saera is, and how she might actually still be alive. In the books, Hugh was not Saera's son, just a random Dragonseed, but Saera did have a few bastard sons who actually showed up to the Great Council of 101 and put forth their claims. Hugh was ashamed of Saera, who worked in a brothel, and he tried to make his own way in life. It's admirable, and I love him.
Were I born a man, I could bear Tim if I wanted. I could father a dozen bastards, and no one in your court would blink an eye.
Well, take that, Rhaenyra. If men weren't allowed to have as many bastards as they want with impunity, you wouldn't have all these Dragonseeds showing up to die for your cause. The Dragonkeeper cult has risen against Rhaenyra, which I find completely awesome. They really are a cult, and their loyalty is to the sanctity of dragons, and they'll be damned if any old bastard gets to bond with these beautiful, magical creatures. The dragons are sacred. They are the last magic of old Valyria in this sad world. They are not playthings for the games of men. But Rhaenyra needs to use them to win the Game of Thrones. By the way, with all these dozens of Dragonseeds showing up to Dragonstone, now would be a great time to break out that throne we all know exists but they're refusing to show for some reason. Why not receive all these people in the throne room instead of this cramped chamber?
Some of you may welcome the prospect of change, even death, given the alternatives. Privation, starvation, war.
Oh, this is comedy. Rhaenyra suggests these poor idiots might actually prefer death by dragonfire instead of starving due to a food shortage Rhaenyra has caused with the Velaryon blockade in the Blackwater, which doesn't even make sense in the first place because there are green houses in the Crownlands who could help supply the food. I love this show.
Named Vermithor. He's called the Bronze Fury.
Oh wow, this is a good shot.
Oh, wow. Oh, I'm telling you, my goodness me. I can't believe this.
Rhaenyra has brought the pores into the Batcave because it's dark in here, and therefore less of the CGI budget is required. Verm the Worm was written by Jaehaerys, and has been riderless since the old king died like 30 years ago. Hugh manages to claim him in one of the better scenes this show has ever given us. After Hugh claims Verm, Ulf gets claimed by Silverwing. Boop, the dragon of Jaehaerys' sister wife Alicent. So even though their rioters are dead, Vermithor and Silverwing live together in the Dragonmont. This is still a better love story than Ben and Rhae. So Hugh is Jaehaerys and Alicent's grandson, and he claimed his grandfather's dragon. If Ulf is correct about his parentage, he is also Jaehaerys and Alicent's grandson, and he claimed his grandmother's dragon. It's kinda cool that these two bastard cousins have presumably never met, but are now dragon riders on the same side of a civil war. Life really comes at you fast. Ironrod says that Daeron Targaryen has taken wing from Oldtown on his dragon Tessarion, the Blue Queen. We even get a glimpse of Tessarion in the teaser for next week, so I'll take back everything negative I've ever said about this show. Alright, that's it. Let me know which Dragonseed is your favorite, and which of Jaehaerys' 13 children you wish could have been your mother. Okay, come back next week if you want. Goodbye.